The Commanders' rookie minicamp is full of potential, but only a few players have a real shot of making the 2025 roster. That right now on Locked On Commanders.
You are Locked On Commanders, your daily podcast on the Washington Commanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome inside today's episode of Locked On Commanders. I am your host, David Harrison, here with you Monday through Friday, your friend, your eyes, your ears on the ground, covering the Washington Commanders, doing so for WUSA 9, your local CBS affiliate, doing that at WUSA9.com, and doing that for Sports Illustrated's Commander Game Day as well. I want to thank you for coming through today for this episode. We are previewing the Washington Commanders 2025 rookie minicamp that began on Friday. However, we will get our first look at the rookie minicamp roster on Saturday. So we're going to talk about what to look for, who we're going to look for, and what to expect. Everydayers, those of you who come through every single day, I want to thank you again. A special thank you for coming through yet again today for this episode. And if anybody out there is not already, please subscribe for free on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this episode right now. If you're new to the show, thank you for finding us. Hopefully you enjoy it, and hopefully you give us another try, because Locked On Commanders is a daily podcast covering the Washington Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So make sure you come back soon. This episode is brought to you by the Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox. No console needed. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more about that today. So Saturday, we're going to get our first look at the rookie class in action. Friday, they got started with the Washington Commanders. Weather was inclement in Ashburn, so they had to move indoors. There's some construction going on. Because of the construction, they've got some things going on in the indoor practice facility, just not enough space for all the coaches, players, staff, and the media to be in there safely. So we're waiting until Saturday when the weather's going to get better. We're going to get our opportunity. Personally, I'm actually okay. I'm actually thankful, I guess, with the second day being the day that we get to see the first day. I always kind of view the first day as like the first day of school. You're not really getting a lot of the meat of what you're trying to do over the course of the camp on the first day. A lot of it is introductory. A lot of it is just kind of getting to know the flow of the day and all those things. So the second day, these guys have had a day under their belt. And the best part is we get to talk to Dan Quinn about 2 days worth of practices. We get to talk to the players about 2 days worth of experiences. So I'm good with Saturday. And it also means you're going to get an episode of Locked On Commanders on Saturday. So a little bonus content coming your way this weekend, tomorrow after the minicamp. Not sure if we're going to do it in Ashburn or after I get home. It's just going to depend on workspace availability and all that stuff. But we'll see when we get it done. We will get that out as soon as possible. Of course, the draft picks are going to be there. Josh Conerly Jr., first-round offensive tackle. Trey Amos, second-round cornerback. Jaylin Lane, wide receiver, day 3. Kane Medrano, linebacker on day 3. Running back Jacory Krosky-Merritt on day 3 as well. Those 5 guys are going to be at the camp because, of course, they're the draft class. They are expected to all be on the active roster. Never say never. Things certainly could happen. But typically teams don't like cutting their own draft picks. And this team certainly has room for all their draft picks to make the active roster. Now, Josh Conerly Jr., Trey Amos, offensive lineman, cornerback, they have not signed their rookie deals yet. However, that's not a big deal. Rookies are allowed to participate in everything. Rookie minicamp, OTAs, mandatory minicamp, all the way leading up to training camp. As long as they have their deals signed by training camp, everything is fine. If they don't have their deal signed by training camp, that's when you want to start worrying. That's when there's potential that a rookie could miss some time and things like that. Now, why they haven't signed the rookie deals, I can't tell you that exactly, but what I'll tell you is it's not a huge deal. There's some terms in there. The more money you have on the line, the more money, the more terms you can put in there as far as bonus structures, guarantees, all that kind of stuff. So it's really not unusual to have players unsigned from your draft class at this point in time. Some teams do have their entire rookie class signed. That's fantastic, but it's not a big deal if you have a guy or two who's not. Jaylin Lane, Kane Medrano, Jacory Krosky-Merritt all signed their contracts Friday before the rookie minicamp began. So that's good news. You have those guys under contract. Some interesting data coming out in the last week since the NFL draft. Trey Amos is going to be wearing number 23, the number that he wore once while at Alabama. Primarily, however, he wore number 9 and he wore number 21 in college. Both of those numbers in Washington are retired for good reason. So he's not getting those numbers. So he went back to number 23, which in and of itself, still to this day, you wear number 23, you're going to have eyes on you. And if you don't do well the people are going to notice in the number 23. Jaylin Lane's wearing number 83. He wore that at Middle Tennessee State. Also wore that at Tech, so he gets to wear his college number in the pro. And Jacory Krosky-Merritt, the running back, is wearing number 32. Not a number he wore in college, but a number worn by one of my favorite running backs of all time, Ricky Running Waters. And I know. He played for the Eagles for a period of time. I got it. He also played for the 49ers. And the 49ers is where I became a fan of his, though not of the team per se, right? And the Seahawks after his time with the Eagles as well. So don't get too mad at me for having Ricky Waters as one of my favorite backs in NFL history. But you wear the number 32 in front of me. I'm already excited about this kid. Seeing him in number 32, like that's not going to help me contain my excitement. So really looking forward to seeing him in person for the first time. And that brings us to what are we looking for from the draft picks at rookie minicamp, right? There's no pads. There's no contact. There's no, 11 on 11s, things like that. So what is it that we really hope to see? Well, first and foremost, you don't want to see them getting told to do the same thing over and over again, especially, repeatedly in a short period of time. It's you want to see them being able to pick up what they're being told, pick up on their coaching. Obviously, and this isn't something I've ever seen at a rookie minicamp, so I don't expect to, but any arguing or any attitude, things like that, you don't want to see that either. And look, you want to see that they're in shape, right? These guys have been through a lot. They've had a lot of workouts as well, so they should be in shape. I wouldn't, sell you that every rookie draft pick that I've seen come through this organization has been at top conditioning when they got to their rookie minicamp, but they learn from it. You know what I mean? They learn from it very quickly, and those guys I've learned from it too. From Josh Conerly Jr. specifically, you want to see that athleticism. Part of the reason he was drafted, his ability to move left, move right, get up to the second level, pull, do all those things. You want to see that athleticism in action. You want to see strength and anchor. You know what I mean? There's certain drills that you can do even with no pads, even with no contact, that demonstrate that strength and anchor if we get to see any of that. And then, Insiders got the film study. I kind of harped a little bit on his hands being outside too much as a blocker. Want to see if maybe the coaching staff is addressing that with him as well. Again, it's not a problem if it's not a problem, but it could be a problem. So I want to see if the coaching staff is addressing that. From Trey Amos, the cornerback, obviously athleticism for all these guys, right? That's what the Commanders do. They draft athletes. So athleticism, copy and paste that for all these guys. But I also want to see ball skills from Trey Amos, interceptions, takeaways, something that the Commanders certainly are trying to get more of, get better at in 2025. So you want to see that from him. Good feet as a corner cover or a cover corner, and ball tracking. Ball tracking in the air is going to lead to those ball skills. From Jaylin Lane, the young wide receiver, speed, hands, punt fielding. Perhaps we'll get some special teams iterations, and maybe we see him field a couple of punts. Sometimes they throw, workout balls, like the soft ones, not medicine balls, soft balls, soft, big, fluffy, I don't know what they're called, yoga balls maybe, add them and try to distract them, things like that, put brooms up and try to get in their eyes. Kane Medrano, really just kind of getting a first look at a potential hybrid linebacker, safety type of player, see where his range is, see what he looks like. Does he fit, does he pass the eye test, right? That kind of thing from him. Then Jacory Krosky-Merritt, you guys already know, I'm very excited to just see his juice in person and really get the opportunity, hopefully, to talk to him. We are going to get the opportunity to talk to players coming off the field. However, we've also got Dan Quinn, and it's really just a timing factor of, if the player walks off the field while we're talking to Dan Quinn, like I can't run out to the locker room and grab him and say, hey, get back out here. So, it'll just be interesting timing on how to do that. So, of course, we're going to get our first look at these rookies. Very, very exciting. If you are a video game player, you may have already gotten your first look at them, although unofficially, right? Created draft classes and all that going out there for you to import into your games. And perhaps you've already gotten some stick time with some of these players. And you can do that thanks to our friends over at Amazon Fire TV Sticks. We're going to talk about them here coming up next. And after that, we'll get to our undrafted free agents that have a chance to make this football team. All of that coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And like I said, today's episode of Locked On Commanders brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K version 3. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign in to your Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. Dive into hundreds of premium titles, including EA Sports College Football 25, where perhaps you can go back, play as Tech, play as one of these other teams, and take control of your own favorite draft prospect for the Commanders this year. You can even play Call of Duty. As easily as you stream your favorite TV shows, you can get into the game. What if you could jump into your favorite Xbox titles without ever needing your console in every single room? Simply plug in your 4K TV, your Amazon Fire Stick 4K TV, and you're ready to go. How do you game when you're not in front of your main setup? Hotels, family trips, all of these things. Amazon Fire TV has you covered. So head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. Continuing now with today's episode of Locked On Commanders, talking about rookie minicamp. Rookie minicamp starting for the Washington Commanders on Friday. We will get our first look at the rookies ourselves on Saturday. Looking forward to doing that. And so talking about the draft picks, a little bit of what we want to see from them. Now let's move on to the undrafted free agents. These are players that were not drafted, but have signed deals with the Washington Commanders, and obviously will take part in the rookie minicamp as part of those deals. Could make it to the training. Like, there's no guarantees here necessarily that they'll make it to training camp. All those things, that's what all these processes are about. And certainly some of the invites who are not under contract as undrafted free agents could threaten to take one of these spots or just be added to the group if they do well enough. And it brings us back to a mailbag submission from Insider Ricky, who actually did a lot of research here. He said 32 teams times 53 players, 1,696 players. Each year, there are around, quote unquote, right, 15 to 20 total undrafted free agents that make the 53-man roster. Not a lot, but still a good amount. That's roughly 1%. Commanders had 2 make their 53. I'm assuming that's last year. That's 3.75%. Hopefully, Adam Peters can find 2, maybe 3 in this UDFA class. There are almost 500 UDFAs currently in the NFL. Austin Eckler, Frankie Luvu, 2 Commanders. Jeremy Reeves, another Commander, right? So NFL talent is out there. There are 22 UDFAs in the Hall of Fame. So not a great number, but more than I think people would expect. So great research there from Ricky. Wanted to share that. I think that was really, really cool of him to do. So looking at the list here, wide receiver Jacoby Jones out of UCF, wide receiver Ja'Cory Brooks out of Louisville, cornerback Carlin Vigors out of Louisiana Monroe, cornerback Fentrell Cypress out of Florida State, safety Trey Rucker out of Oklahoma State, running back Michael Wiley out of Arizona. He's not a rookie, but he is a second-year player who does not have a year of service, so he's allowed to participate in this class or in this camp. Linebacker Cam Arnold out of Boston College, safety Rob McDaniel out of Jackson State, linebacker El Cajo out of UCLA, defensive end TJ, sorry dude, international pathway player is going to be on this list as well. Rugby player, we talked about him when he was signed, not going to count against the 90-man roster or the 53-man roster if he stays on the team. So there's a lot of reason for him to get carried forward as they try to develop him from international pathway programs. Tackle Aneem Dankwa out of Howard, defensive tackle Ricky Barber from UCF, and guard Timothy McKay out of NC State. Timothy McVeigh, yeah, 90s folks will know where that slip came from. But anyway, guard Timothy McKay out of NC State. Those are your undrafted free agents and your rookie minicamp participants, obviously. So can't talk about all of them, right? We do want to highlight a few of them, though. Number 16, they'll be wearing number 16. So if you see clips and you see the number 16, that is wide receiver Ja'Cory Brooks from Louisville, 6'3", 195-pound prospect. Every day you'll remember him because we have talked about him a little bit leading up to this weekend, but we're going to talk about him here again for those who maybe have not heard about him and haven't heard those episodes. Spent 3 years at Alabama, 1 year in Louisville, his final year of college. Didn't have a great workout as pro day, right? Ran like a 4.6 40, I think. So certainly that could have potentially hurt him. But when you turn on the tape, there's some very good stuff. He's very good at finding space in zone. Contested catches, kind of his calling card. Good teammate, right? You love seeing him celebrate other guys' success, and he does that often. He does it whenever there's an opportunity there. Ball tracking is definitely a strength. What does he not have? He doesn't have the most diverse route tree on tape. Doesn't have top-end speed or quickness. So those are kind of things that kind of isolate him a little bit. So it'll just be interesting to see them get a look at him and see how they kind of see him potentially fitting into their system. Number 68, guard Timothy McKay out of NC State. Said it right that time. 6'4", 312-pounder, interior offensive lineman, 6 seasons at NC State. So a lot of experience coming via NC State here in McKay. He's got guard tackle versatility on the right sideline. Played right guard, played right tackle, started at both positions during his career with the Wolfpack, known for his size and his athletic combo, the combination of size and athleticism, really well known. View him more as a threat to Chris Paul than anyone else right now, right? Like I'm not, I wouldn't go as far as say like, oh, he could threaten, Nick Allegretti for a starting job, or maybe Trent Scott gets cut because Timothy McKay comes in. But I would say more bottom of the roster, Chris Paul type of threat there. Number 24, cornerback Fentrell Cypress out of Florida State, 6 foot tall, 188 pounds, 4 years at Virginia, 2 years at Florida State. 1 career interception, so the ball skills, the production obviously not what you would love it to be. Good length, quickness, and speed. Ran a 4.43 at the Florida State Pro Day. Had 14 passes defensed for Virginia in 2022, 27 in his career, so he can get his hands on the ball, just doesn't catch it all that often. Has taken reps in the slot, but he is a perimeter corner. He's got the length and the kind of things that, a Dan Quinn, Joe Witt Jr. type of defensive player would want to be. One of the more intriguing players on the UDFA list, number 47, safety Rob McDaniel out of Jackson State, 6'2", 207 pounds, 3-level defender in college, could take on guards, played corner, played in the box. Like that was kind of a really big thing about Rob McDaniel that I think, we talked about him every day, as you remember his name as well. We talked about him during a mailbag episode where someone asked specifically about his prospects moving forward. And the thing we said about him is like, when you look at him on the field, he's going to be like your most Jeremy Chin like player, right? Like that's going to be the biggest thing for him. So but he's not a Jeremy Chin. You know what I mean? Like Jeremy Chin came out and certainly more linebacker than he was safety. But when you look at a guy like Rob McDaniel, and granted he did it, HBCU, all that stuff. So you're not seeing him against like SEC talent and stuff like that. You're seeing him against, quote unquote, lesser talent, but he's a guy that could not just play in the box, but attack the line of scrimmage, fill gaps, play corner, had that coverage ability. Ran a 4.55 at his pro day. So not super fast, but also he does appear to play faster on the field when you watch him. So, very, very interesting type of prospect. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Jeremy Chin, obviously just from the size, but you look at kind of his motor and you got a little bit of Jeremy Reeves mentality. I'll put it that way in there because Jeremy Reeves is going to come up again later in this episode. But Jeremy Reeves' mentality in a guy like Rob McDaniel. The Locked On HBCU guys were very, very excited about Rob McDaniel entering the NFL draft process, saying that if he goes undrafted, which obviously ended up going, that they felt like he was going to be a really good prospect. 3-level defender is what they called him. And so very interested to see what he's going to bring as well. Just like the actual drafted players, we can't talk about all the UDFAs, unfortunately. And I know there are some favorites out there. I know like Carlin Viggers has got a lot of fans, things like that. So we will talk about as many as we can who stand out. We'll continue to talk about them as we go through. So don't worry. If you didn't hear your favorite guy today, when we see him tomorrow, they will have the opportunity to potentially stand out and get talked about there. So we also got to get to the tryout players. So we're going to take our time to talk about the tryout players. Coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Wrapping up today's episode of Locked On Commanders, talking about rookie minicamp. Washington Commanders 2025 rookie minicamp is upon us, and the undrafted guys, the NFL draft picks, will all take the field on Saturday. Did take the field on Friday, however, we weren't there, so we don't have any personal observations. I know the Commanders sent out some clips and things like that, but they're zoomed in. They're called tight shots, and they're tight shots for a reason. They don't want you to see everything going on out there, so not really able to kind of glean anything off of those things. Don't get practice reports for these kinds of things, things like that. So we'll get our first eye on them on the class and on the undrafted guys and on the tryout invites, who are not all rookies, and that's where we're actually going to start. When you look at the list of rookie minicamp invites, a little bit interesting to see some guys who are not necessarily rookies. Quarterback Nathan Peterman got some attention for being on this list. Peterman was a 5th-round pick by the Buffalo Bills in 2017. Played 2017-18 with Buffalo, went 1-3 as a starter. 2020, 2021, he was with the Las Vegas Raiders. No starts there. 2022-23 with the Chicago Bears. 0-1 as a starter. Has a 53.1% completion percentage in his career. 4 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. He's a minicamp arm, right? Like, he's not a guy. I had one insider who was, specifically like, hey, like, is there something going on with, Sam Hartman, stuff like that? No, they need people to throw the ball during minicamp. That's what he's going to do. He's going to come in here and he's, potentially going to show them that he can still throw the ball. get some tape on, try to get back in the league, try to get back into professional football, right? Virginia Tech's Colin Schlee has some athleticism to him. Still don't think he gets a camp invite, to be quite honest with you, but he's the more interesting of the two quarterbacks to me personally. So I wouldn't get too worried about it. But those two guys are on this roster, the invite portion of the roster. Also, wide receiver Trenton Irwin is on there. Wide receiver Dorian Anderson. Wide receiver Ade. I looked up his name earlier. For some reason, it's slipping my mind. DB Peyton Buckley. DB Gabe Taylor. DB Kalen Moore. DB Brandon Turnage. DB Xavier Rubio. Running back Keegan Jones. Linebacker Xander Mueller. Offensive lineman Maurice Smith and Joseph Carter. Ben Rather and Tyree Phillips. Tight end Malik Carr. Tight end Jude Wolf. Defensive lineman Ross Blacklock, DeAndre Jules, and Austin Bryant. That is your full list of invites. Obviously, like I said, we talked about the quarterbacks, but the one that everybody's asking about, the one that everybody's talking about, safety Gabriel Taylor. He'll be wearing number 26 out of Rice. Why is he the one everybody's talking about? Because he is the younger brother of the late, great Sean Taylor, Washington legend. Watching him on tape, look, I like the way he attacks the position, attacks the ball carrier. He's shown ball skills. He got 10 interceptions in 5 seasons at Rice, 3 in 2 different seasons. Came up with 3 sacks in 2024 as well, showing some versatility. I view him as a sort of Jeremy Reeves type, like I told you. We've got Rob McDaniel, who is kind of a Jeremy Reeves mentality type of player, just from what I see on tape. And Gabe Taylor kind of reminds me of Jeremy Reeves again by the way he plays. Also a little bit in his build. Haven't seen him in person, so I don't know if he's like, I'm not going to say he's like apples to apples Jeremy Reeves build, but kind of looks like him on tape a little bit. Truthfully, could see a transition running back in his future if he wants to. I know he wants to. I think the way he puts it is he wants to finish what Sean started. Totally get that motivation, you know what I mean? But if there's a path for him as a running back, if he can secure the ball as a ball carrier, perhaps, the way that he plays, it just seems like it could fit to me. I've been asked about his chances of making the 53-man roster, and I get why. But I will tell you that, like, what I tell everybody is he needs to make the 90-man roster first, right? He needs to get through rookie minicamp, try to impress, do what he can, do his job, just be him, right? Like, you don't need to go out there trying to do too much. Just go out there and do what you do. If you make the 90-man roster, make it a training camp, then you have to worry about making the 53, making the practice squad, all that stuff. So before we get into 53-man roster projections, before we get to practice squad predictions, right now I just want to focus on the 90-man roster. What he does tomorrow, you know what I mean? Look, there's a lot more to it than what you're going to see on the practice field, but from what I can see, I will give you my view of what he was able to do, as I know a lot of you want to hear that. So we'll do that tomorrow. And if it leads to a training camp invite, super stoked for the young fella. Defensive lineman Ross Blacklock, another interesting invite because he's not a rookie, 6'5", 307-pounder who came out of TCU in 2020. Was a second-round pick of the Houston Texans in 2020. Spent 2 years with Houston. Then he went to Minnesota for 2022. Jacksonville and Tennessee in 2023. Didn't appear in any games in 2024, but he did land with the New York Giants at some point, was released this April, had signed a futures contract with the team. Also spent time with the Colts at one point, but again, never appeared in a game for them. Wide receiver Trenton Irwin is another player with NFL experience. Originally went undrafted out of Stanford. The connection here is Commanders quarterback coach Tavita Pritchard was Irwin's wide receiver coach in Stanford from 2015 to 2017. Then he was Irwin's offensive coordinator in Stanford in 2018. Irwin entered the NFL undrafted, was with the Bengals from 2019 to 2024, caught 46 passes, 601 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So he's going to bring a little bit of experience to the rookie minicamp himself. The final guy we're going to talk about here tonight, wide receiver Dorian Anderson, Southeast Missouri State. He's very interesting because he's 6'7", 200-pounder. Had 67 receptions, over 1,000 yards receiving, 12 touchdowns for the Red Hawks in the FCS this year. Had a really great catch in 2024. We had a turn, reach back over a trailing defender, bat the ball out of the air kind of to himself in the close corner, close right-hand corner of the end zone, make the grab. He got 2 feet down, not just one. So you love that, and got the score for his team. Looking around the league, don't have any tape on him. Looked up some YouTube stuff, didn't really find a lot, but looked around the league as much as I could to find any information. He's known as a great route runner, knows how to create separation, find holes in the zone. Biggest questions about him were his ability to play against physical competition, which again, unfortunately, rookie minicamp, no pads, no none of that. So we're not going to be able to see a lot of that, but we can see some of this other stuff. Jumping from the FCS to the NFL is obviously going to be a big test for him. So we'll see if he gets his shot to advance past rookie minicamp into training camp. Again, Can't talk about everybody, but those are some of the ones that insiders specifically asked about, some of the ones that jumped out for me for various reasons. And of course, tomorrow, like I said, we will be in Ashburn for rookie minicamp day 2. We'll get to talk to Dan Quinn about who stood out to him and for what reasons. We get to talk to the young men, as many of them as we possibly can before they leave the field as well on Saturday afternoon. And I will be back here to share all of those notes, observations, and information with you in the next episode of Locked On Commanders. In the meantime, if you got questions, if you got comments, all you got to do is text me. To do that, all you have to do is go to Locked On Commanders or become a Locked On Commanders insider. Go to joinsubtext.com/Locked On Commanders to do that today. For your next listen, check out the Locked On NFL Scouting podcast with the draft dudes. Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino are going to make you the smartest NFL fans around. You can find that on YouTube or wherever you're listening to today's episode. As always, I want to thank you for making Locked On Commanders your first listen of the day, every day, everydayers. Thank you for coming through every single day. See you tomorrow. And until we speak again, if you're out and about, please be safe, be kind, and I'll see you next time for another episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.